Welcome back to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're glad you're joining our show again this evening. If you have watched our show before, you know that each week we're going to have someone on from the 9 cities in CCX's viewing area to help us understand what's happening in the cities, what are some of the issues you're dealing with, what are some of the things that are going to be coming up in the future. And so we encourage you, if you're from Brooklyn Park, because we're very happy to have Mayor Jeff Lunde with us tonight. If you're from Brooklyn Park, take down his email and his phone number. So if some of the issues we talk about tonight are of concern for you, you can be in contact with him.
Absolutely.
And then if the issues are interesting and you're in another city, contact your mayor or city council person there and find out what's happening. Because good government happens when the residents, the city council, the mayor, the staff are all working together and know what's going on. So we're happy to have you with us tonight, Jeff.
Thank you.
I'll let you kind of introduce yourself a little bit to our wider audience.
Yeah.
Brooklyn Park probably has a pretty good handle on
Yeah, I think people have their opinions already made up on me, right?
Right. So you can reach out to some more people.
Yeah, no, I think my third term as mayor, my final term.
Right.
I have 2 years left in my term. Before that, I served on the city council representing the River, the East District. And so I've been involved with many things. I'm a board member for the League of Minnesota Cities. And I'm also a board member for Cities United, which is a national effort to limit and reduce violence in the lives of young men of color.
Right.
And then also a member of the Obama Foundation, My Brother's Keeper. And so very involved with the idea that we can do things to help bridge that gap.
Most definitely.
So, I think most importantly, married, have 2 sons that are trying to figure out the COVID school district and everything else, like every other parent. And so we're like everyone else. We're just trying to make do.
Right, they have to during this period of time, right?
Yep.
You're doing, what kinds of things are happening on Highway 81?
Yeah, I think the county is wrapping up construction. And so it's been kind of a very long project, and they've been moving.
Right.
And as they do projects, we try to do our projects.
Okay,
so
right.
So if you're going to rip up a place and close a road down, we try to rip up the place. And so we've been trying to take advantage of the city to do work that we've got planned at the same time, and so that we're not ripping up road twice. And so some of that stuff is finally getting to where we're opening roads back up. And so 81 is a big thoroughfare.
Oh, yeah, and that's a busy one.
Yeah. And I think the other one is really, we've got some new lights coming in, 93rd.
Oh, okay.
A lot of engagement with the residents, talking about safety. And so we're going to finish off a project because there's a lot of development happening next door, so we're going to redo the road.
Right.
And then we put a stoplight at the end of 93rd and Noble. And so it's safety driven. The number of accidents, all that stuff goes into a calculation. So it needed a light.
Definitely.
And it's there.
And so the road construction is hard while you're dealing with it, so you're happy when it gets done.
Yes, it's like one of those necessary evils,
Right.
I can't make things better unless I first cause some pain, but we're getting it done. And COVID has actually allowed some of that road construction to continue because there's less people on the road.
Right.
Less people driving, so it's an opportunity to take care of things, and we think that's a good thing.
A good thing for your city.
Yeah.
And then an issue that's important and all of our cities are dealing with, and I know Brooklyn Park has, is encouraging and improving getting your residents engaged with their local government. And I thought maybe we could get some thoughts from you on why that's important and then talk a little bit about what you're doing with it.
Yeah, nothing has changed for Brooklyn Park. Community engagement is still our overall principle, that if you have engaged residents, you have better policy. It reflects the needs more. And so we have never shied away. We're still doing it. The problem is we can't do it like we used to. We love to have big meetings, try to go out there. So what we've done is we're still having some in-person meetings because there are people who still, that's a good way. We just have to take COVID. We're doing more virtual meetings, more Facebook Live. We've done Zoom. We've done Teams. And then we're also trying to do something a little different, which I don't think we've got to success yet, but we're working toward it, which is reaching out to specific groups. Maybe it's the retirees. Because retirees, people who are seniors, are most affected by COVID. The death rate is significantly higher depending on your age and so we know that we're missing some people. We also know people who African Americans, as we try to kind of really have that police conversation. We need to get them to the table. if they're not at the table, then we've not done a good job. And so we're really trying to change how we do things.
Oh, yeah. It's
And so every
important.
time we do something, we provide a virtual option so that people have the ability to engage and not worry about COVID.
Right.
Because their opinion still matters. It's just how do we engage them? So
Yeah,
we're
how
really
do
pushing
you-
that.
How to reach people in this period of time, but it will also be good in the future as of different ways that that work.
And I think the world has changed. I think part of it will go back to normal because at the end of the day, humans are very social.
Right.
I mean,
right.
there are people who are like, oh, I can deal with this, but they still have aspects
yeah.
that are being affected. And I think mental health during the COVID economy has greatly been impacted.
Oh, definitely.
I don't have to leave my house to see my 2 sons, my wife, and I to see mental health. But there are some people who have real challenges and depression
right.
and things because they aren't able to go out and see people.
Right.
And that's a real thing.
Yeah, no, it's a real thing that needs to be dealt with, that's for sure. And you had a partnership kind of thing happening at 63rd and Zane area between businesses and community?
Yeah,
Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that and how it worked out.
Yeah, we talked about crime being down overall,
Uh-huh.
but not every neighborhood, and we know certain types of crime is up.
Right.
So one of the areas, 63rd and Zane, had a criminal element. I don't know how else to put it, and
Right.
I'll just call it like it is. And so we know what they were doing. We know it was 2 gangs. We know all the particulars, but
Right.
what was happening is that they were sniping at each other, and so oftentimes there was gunfire.
Oh,
And
bad
thankfully,
news.
no one was killed, but
Right.
people were being wounded. And so, at a certain point, the police chief said to the community, "Hey, we've tried de-escalation, we've tried engagement, we've tried all these things.
Right.
We're now to that traditional police response and so we told the community, here's what we're going to do."
Right.
And the community said, "Yes, please do
They
it."
wanted you to do
And most
it.
of that area is diverse.
Right.
And they were saying, it got to clear out. We can't even walk down to this corner without fearing. Because
Oh, yeah.
people unsafe. It doesn't know any race, money, or creed. It's
No, I
you
don't
feel
think so,
unsafe.
right.
And so we really put the pressure down. We worked with the business owners to shut the businesses down early so we could put up trespassing signs. We went in there with the Hennepin County Sheriff, was very supportive, brought Senate officers in. Brooklyn Center, because it's right there on the border, was of great assistance. We worked together because we share so many common
right.
traits.
Definitely.
And so in about a week, we really cleared stuff out temporarily, right?
Right.
And so the community in the area had a celebration.
Oh, that's
So
kind of cool.
Right, they did. It wasn't like we put
Right,
one on
right.
because it's not a victory. It's just
Right.
hey, things are going well. So now we're trying to look at sustainability. And so we're working with business owners at the strip mall and stuff to
Sure.
put up fencing, start to bear down on some of this stuff, start to empower the community to realize it's their corner, not the people
Right.
that came to hang out.
Right.
And then also, now that the cops know that, in this time of uncertainty, that they have the community support, I think it makes them feel more confident to
Oh, I
know
bet.
that, yes,
And
people
especially
do
this time.
want
Right.
policing.
Yeah.
And they'd like to be safe in their house. They'd like to go home like all of us do and just maybe watch TV, have
right.
dinner, or go down and get milk or something.
Right.
Not have to worry about this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think it was good for everybody because people, with all the talk and stuff and people saying this or defund that and all this stuff, is at the end of the day, people want to be safe.
Oh, definitely.
How do we get there? We work best together. And so that's what we saw.
And good to do things, see how they work out, and then change or keep on doing it, right?
Yeah, and I think that because the chief and team had done de-escalation, they had done engagement, that we had done all these things. We didn't just come in one night with 40 officers and arrest
Right.
everyone. We had been trying to do other things that finally at a certain point you get to the response, which is we need to arrest some people to send a message that this is not your corner anymore,
Right.
it's ours. And so that message has been delivered.
That sounds like a good
It still needs
way.
more work. I'm not going to act like we're not done.
Do you get a lot of comments from residents about crime and the effects on different parts of the city?
Yes.
Or
Yep. I think we also do a really good job being transparent. We send out alerts. And so if you're signed up for alerts, you hear about this gunshot here
yeah,
or that.
on
And so
your website they
yes,
can do that, right?
You can sign up. And so the flip side of letting people know information is now people are like, wait a minute, there was a cop. We are a big city. We're 83,000 plus.
Right.
And so we're not small. We are going to have some crime, and we're
Oh,
going to have
yeah.
things that happen every night. And now that you can see the alerts, people I think are like, holy, this is happening every night. And it's like, it's always been happening every night. I got news for you. It happens every night in Maple Grove, Brooklyn Center.
And then people
Weymouth.
have more knowledge of what's going
Right.
on.
And so sometimes they're like, oh my God, it's so bad. And like, no, it's not.
No.
It's just, when you have 12 crimes happen, that means once a month you're going to have one.
Well, and you have to deal with what is, not what you wish was happening.
Yeah, but it helps because I think we also try to, and with the cutbacks and the kind of that service thing, is we try to use the information that people do provide to drive response.
Certainly,
like people have code enforcement, they talk about issues, and maybe they think a house has been selling drugs out of it.
Right.
Get that to the police, get the police in contact with the resident, find out what's going on. And and so the best neighborhoods, the safest neighborhoods are always the ones that are the most aware of their surroundings and active.
And that's what people refer to when they talk about community policing?
Yes, yep. We have to have that partnership. And so I think, when the riots after George Floyd, as it was happening, and I share this because in those, right after the 3rd precinct went up, we did our curfew on Friday night. From that Thursday until Sunday, I received 1,200 messages, and I tell people all the time, record, like,
Yeah, I bet.
and 99.9% of them had one theme. I do not want that crime to become in Brooklyn Park. And it cut across demographics, it cut across everything. People calling me, they just wanted to be safe. And so I think that the more people can take active ownership and be aware, and nothing's changed. Sit on your front porch at night and say hi to everyone who walks by.
Yep.
That is the biggest crime deterrent ever, because a criminal does not they know you. Oh, they're aware of me. It's when you sit inside the house, shut your drapes. The criminals know no one's watching me. So I always tell people, sit out front, say hi to everyone.
Right.
And you might meet someone and have a conversation. You're going to find out that most 99.9% of the people in your neighborhood are just like you.
Right. And that helps make your community safer.
If you say hi to one, then if there is a criminal walking down the street, they don't like the fact that. But you're going to meet neighbors. I've met new neighbors this summer I never know before. People are out walking now. They're doing more outside because they have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And so I've met people I've never. They've lived somewhere 10 years on the street behind me, and they're cooped up. And every day, one of the wife and husband go out for a walk, and we say hi, and we have conversations with people we never knew.
Yeah.
And now we get to know them.
And that you also support the neighborhood groups that get formed for like the night out or whichever campaign
National
that
Night
is.
Out. Which we're going to have in October.
There's 2 different ones, and they'll be in October now, right?
Yeah, we've already pushed in, and that's kind of up in the air depending on COVID.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But
everything is now.
Yeah, everything is like, it depends, right?
Now, have you heard of ideas of encouraging people to get involved from other cities or other areas or groups that you belong to, that you're thinking about trying or that you've heard good things about?
I think right now we're kind of because of all the stuff going on, we're kind of in a focus on our thing.
Inner focus.
Yeah, but we are tracking what other people are doing for COVID response and looking. We like to lead, but we know we don't come with every good idea. And so when we hear someone else doing something kind of cool, we copy. Don't even worry about it. We're just like, hey, that's a great idea.
Way to go.
We're going to copy it. I'll even tell other mayors. I'm like, that's an awesome idea. By the way, I'm going to copy it.
Right.
And you know what? Every mayor is like, okay.
Well, yeah, and then it improves the whole area.
Absolutely. And so we try to share information, and we try to hear other people. People have nationally, when our Human Rights Commission took on that large task of police reform, if needed, when needed, how needed.
Right.
Is I warned them because we're going to get them set up with the national people, have them have conversations so they could do some, hey, what's other cities doing?
Right.
And I warned them, you're going to get asked, what are you doing? Because you're seen as a leader, and they want to know what you're doing so they can tell other people.
Right.
And so I think that they've taken on the mantle. They get it. And so we're fortunate to have the teams we do on human rights, and many of our committees, we're shameless. If something good is working somewhere, we copy.
Oh, good.
We like to be the ones who lead.
Oh, sure.
But if someone has a really good idea, let's not reinvent the wheel. Copy from others.
Are there any other issues that are going to be up and coming in the future that you haven't started yet, but you're looking?
Well, I'll just look at my watch. It's still how many months we have left till 2020's up.
Right.
So given the pace of which 2020 has bestowed so many presents on
Right.
us, I'm afraid to ask
Oh,
for anything
right.
else. No, I think the big thing is going to be the budgets. Because when we saw the state had a $4.7 billion budget,
right.
and that's a 2-year budget, that's a projected, that they're going to do cutbacks, and those cutbacks are going to hit us. And it means social services, a lot of the things that we don't do are suddenly going to be left undone.
Yeah.
I know I've talked to Senator Hoffe multiple times about, a lot of mental health things for kids with autism, things with developmental challenges. They're being left unfunded to save money.
Oh, right.
Those are our residents. And so what do we do to help them? Because the need's not going away.
Oh, yeah, there's lots of needs.
And so I don't have an answer.
Right.
I mean, it's easy to sit on the sideline and tell people, oh, you shouldn't have cut that, you shouldn't have cut this. But at the end of the day, state constitution and our city charter
Right.
is budget equals zero.
Right, and you've got several people that are all need to come to some consensus on.
Yep. And I think that's where engagement comes in. Is
Yep.
engaging with people, explaining to them, and then, always reinforcing, none of us asked for this.
Right.
We didn't invent COVID. It wasn't started in Brooklyn Park, but we have to deal with it, and so that's what we do. And so a good government deals with challenges,
Oh, yes.
and so that's what we do. That's what people have a right to expect it, and not everything's going to be great.
Right.
It never is.
No, you have to deal with the current situation and come out the best you can.
Well, if you think in history, if you go back about every 10 years, we have something.
Oh, something happens.
The housing foreclosure crisis in 2006,
Right.
2007, which hit Brooklyn Park worse than it.
Oh, yeah.
You've got COVID right now, and 10 years before that, there was something else.
Right.
There are always challenges, and what the strength of a city is how do we rise up?
Right.
And so I think we feel strongly that we do it together, that we're better. But we know there are people who suffer differently than other people. And so
And
people
and
need
you've
different
been
help.
doing a lot of simple things to help people get to know each other
Yep.
and make diversity a plus.
Yeah. Well, and the more diverse our city has got, the lower crime has got. It's not by mistake. We're the most diverse we are in 40 years.
Yeah,
We have the lowest crime in 40 years. And that's not our average. That's the actual number of crime.
that's interesting.
So I always remind people, Minnesotans
Right.
like to think, they always say diversity with crime. No, that's not true. We are the most diverse we've been in 40 years.
Yeah,
we
you
have
are.
the lowest number of crime.
Huh.
And so, again, not lower everywhere, but
Right.
I think what's important is people, when you walk up to a building and you see some stairs, and then you see a handicap ramp. Different people need different things to get to
Oh.
that door.
Right.
It doesn't mean them lesser or better. It just means they need different things.
Right.
And so as long as we remember that people have different needs, and that all we can do is the best we can and try to provide opportunities, I think that's a good thing.
I think you're right. I thought we've got a little time to talk about volunteer opportunities
Yep.
in the city, because now more than ever, cities need volunteers.
Yep.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about in general, and then tell about the different groups that you have out of your city that people can apply for. Because do you add people to your commissions?
We still are.
Okay.
We just added, we had one opening on Rec and Park, and we had 13 people apply. And 13 people
Whoa,
would
that's-
really be good Rec and Park. So
Oh,
that meant
that's a
one
good-
person got on.
But that was a good
12
amount
didn't.
to be interested.
Absolutely. So we've actually seen a very big upswing in the number of people, the diversity, the strength of the candidates. This last one, I was like, oh my God, there's 13 good candidates, and they all have really different stories.
Right.
And the vote was a three-way tie. 2-2-2. And so one of the things I do as mayor is I get a break tie.
Right,
So,
right.
but it was that. I mean,
Yeah,
so
that's-
we always tell people keep applying, because I had to tell 12 people, 12 of you
Right.
are not going to get a pick, but man, you'd be great.
Yeah.
And so we try to create these opportunities for people to get involved.
Right.
We have task force that are temporary ones. We try to really empower our committees, and so I think that makes people like, hey, they listen. We don't always do what the council may do, but we value their input.
And the different commissions gather input that the council uses to make the decisions.
And we depend,
and many
like-
times.
We told the Budget Advisory Commission, we need you to think not just about this year's budget, but next year's too, because it's a 2-year hit
Right.
from COVID. Even if COVID, we get a vaccine this
Right.
fall, the economy's already been impacted.
Oh, definitely.
Frankly, the presidential stuff is just going to cause more angst because people are going to find ways to decide that my neighbor is worthy because of their presidential choice,
Yeah.
which I just don't understand that.
No.
So we're trying to get volunteers. There has been less opportunities overall because some of the stuff that we normally do,
You can't.
National Night Out,
Right.
we pushed it back, but it might not.
See what happens.
Yeah.
So what are the different commissions that people can apply to be on? And
Yeah.
they're usually on for a term of 3 years?
Yep, normally 3, but we
Right.
always constantly have turnover. People
Oh, right.
move, people have a
Right,
change of
changes
lifestyle
happen,
or
right.
job. So we have the Human Rights Commission, which is really looking after police
Okay.
reform, but they do lots of things.
Sure.
Budget Advisory Commission is focused on the city budget. Their job is to go deep because the council, we're trying to pass stuff and we depend on them to kind of look into stuff, and we have a good chair and some good members
Right.
there. We have Recreation Park group, which right now is really fun because we have that, we've slowed it down, but we're still moving ahead with that bond for the parks because people expected stuff.
Oh,
and right now
right.
it's actually cheaper to buy now
Oh, right.
because construction costs are down, bonds for our ratings are well.
Right.
We have the CLIC, which is the Citizens Long Range Improvement Committee, which
Uh-huh.
is going to look at is COVID, if it's caused lasting changes,
Oh, right.
how is that going to affect the city operations? We have the Charter Commission, which is appointed by judge, which is like our Constitution Committee.
Right.
And I know I'm forgetting one, and I just totally blanked it out.
Planning?
My God, how could I forget the mother of all committees? Yes, the planning one, which is actually a state charter commission. You actually have to have,
Uh-huh.
and they're moving forward. There's still activity. We're doing some stuff there as well. We still have development, and
Right.
they have to be involved with all that.
And so if people out there are interested, they can look on your website, they
Mm-hmm. Yep.
can look through minutes, they can come
Absolutely.
to meetings, they
Absolutely.
can talk to people
And a
at
lot
City
of
Hall.
meetings committees have been virtual
Right.
because of
Oh, right.
the council told each committee, originally we said, do what you want. We
Right.
support you. And we went back and said, I think virtual would be better right now. Because,
Right. Then it's available for
yeah, and that
people,
way,
right.
and we've got better being able to do virtual meetings because the council did them. And so constantly looking for people. The best thing they can do is if you go out there and say, I want to get involved,
Right.
you can get a form to fill out and it goes on file.
Right.
And if there's openings, and our administrative assistant for the council, if she goes through and says, "Hey, I've got people," she'll contact them and say, "Hey,
Right.
you got this on file, but you need to refresh it." So if you applied last year, you should reapply this year. We do purge.
Yeah, so
people
people that are interested
Yep.
and maybe have some time now, fill out the form and then see what happens.
Absolutely.
But then also, is there anybody at City Hall they could talk to about other opportunities to do short-term things?
I think
or
we have Josie Shardlow's kind of our community
Okay.
engagement manager.
Okay.
And if you're like, "Hey, I want to do something and I have time,"
Right.
and get in contact with her because she keeps track of the people who want to do something, and the other hand, the people who need something done. And so she's a good go-between
Oh, right.
to help you. Like, oh, what's your interest? What kind of background? I want to help kids with, mental challenges and
right.
people who have autism. Oh, hey, we've got this group that we're connected to. They're always looking for. So we kind of
Connect people together.
Yeah.
What was her name again?
Josie Shardlow. So she's our community engagement manager. She does a great job. She has a team that their whole job is engagement. So different projects, they're the ones who kind of put all those meetings together. They put the formats.
Oh, yeah, you've had a lot of good things to bring
Facilitation.
people together.
They're really good at facilitators.
Yeah, I'll put her
We-
name and her number up so people have somebody they can contact, because there are just lots of opportunities,
Yep.
and it really helps the city out.
Yep. Another way is I always tell people, send an email to a council member
Uh-huh,
and they say, "Hey, I'm interested in doing something,"
right.
and we'll get it to Josie, or we get it connected.
Sure.
And, I think most council members are like me. We get it to Josie and get out of the way, so we're not
Right,
the boat
right.
anchor.
Yeah, so they can contact you if
Yep.
they'd like, but they can contact her and.
I probably do
it's-
one. I'd say one every couple weeks. Where
Right.
I'm meeting one this coming Friday.
Right.
A gentleman who's really interested in getting involved and just wants to hear about what are their options and where's the need, and he has a very good skill set, and I can think of lots of places, opportunities, and it's not with the city. It could be just with a local
right,
nonprofit.
right, yeah, because there's different groups that work as part of the city that
Absolutely.
you can get a list of them off of your website.
Yep. Yeah.
But cities need that involvement, and I think most of the time, or at least it's been true for me, when I've been involved, I think I've gotten more out of it than I've given back.
Absolutely. When I think having that in community engagement team, has provided us with a central place. And so we have a huge list of nonprofits and people doing specific things. Maybe it's the Nigerian Nurses Network. Who work with Nigerian elders to make sure they get health care. Maybe it's something else. There's just some very, and sometimes if you didn't have that team like we do, you just never know. So
no, that would be very useful for people.
Yeah, and usually at some point I, as mayor, encounter almost everyone. Because
I'm sure.
And so I'm always like, hey, get even groups who are active, who want to get involved with the city. I get them connected to Josie. She is, and her team is ground zero for engagement.
Well, it sounds like you have a good connector point there for people
and
out
she's
there.
Good. So I think that you talk about people and having the right people in the right place. She and her team are that right people.
Well, and right now there are people that have some opportunities to get involved. They might not in the future, or they might now be able to put some time to it, and it can be a worthwhile thing and expand the people that you know.
I think what I have never forgot, but I think people sometimes do, is churches have really been impacted, and mosques, and other places of faith. And so when people haven't been able to do what their faith does, that is an impact. And so people are looking for ways to give back to community, because typically they would get involved with their place of faith. And so many of the best people I know, the most active, are actually people who are motivated by their faith and get involved. And so I think when, for a while there, we weren't able to have church service, and I think it really affected people.
So there's a good opportunity now and into the future.
Yeah, we hope people get hooked. You never know, you might become mayor someday. One day I was on the Human Rights Commission, and then
the ultimate
this committee, and then
you choose to run for election,
until you get sick of, wait a minute, they don't do what I suggested they do. I'm running for council because I want to, and then you become part of the problem.
A lot of times I think it's an issue that gets people involved enough to run, and then you want somebody that can look out for the greater good too.
Yes, both of them are motivators. I think our council has got a good, wide-ranging support. We've got more diversity than we've ever had. We have diversity of thought, but I think we're really gelling as a team. And so I think, and right now we need that with the COVID. And so I think it shows when I talked about how the COVID page, we have all been unified by the idea that we're not going to have one lone person out there giving advice. And so I think that's resident in the fact that we as a team are focused.
Your busy schedule to share information about Brooklyn Park with our audience out there. And we're glad to have you with us, and we'll ask people to tune in next week for part 2 on Brooklyn Park's issues. Thanks. And I have to wave because you can't shake hands now, right?
Actually, the elbows, right?
Elbow, but that's we're a little far apart. Thank you.
Thank you.